Hello everyone, and welcome to Fire Spray Pilot Cosplay and Props. My name is David, and today we're going to be reviewing a helmet that I have been anticipating for quite some time, ever since I saw that it was going to be released, and that's the Shore Trooper helmet by Hasbro. It is part of the Black Series line, and again, I have been looking forward to this for quite some time. It says that on the box, it says that Star Wars, and it's from Andor. But as we all know, the Shore Trooper character was first seen in the movie Rogue One, and they were patrolling the beaches of Scarif, planet Scarif. So this is the box. You know, it's again the box with the odd shape, but that's one side. That's another side. It's got a nice Shore Trooper image there to the side, and that's it. Just talking about the features a little bit of the helmet. It is an electronic helmet. It does have a voice changer. We'll talk about that in a little bit. That's the bottom. That's the top. Okay, that's it for the box. Let's put that away. And let's get into the helmet, because that's what we've always wanted to see. Now again, I keep saying this with these Hasbro products, whether it's their Marvel line or their Black Series Star Wars line, Hasbro has just been knocking these things out of the park. And for the price points, you cannot go wrong with these. I mean, if you were to order a kit and you had to assemble a kit or paint it yourself and do all the work and the cutting and the fitting and the sizing, and if you had to do this by yourself, you're going to spend a good amount of time and a good amount of money. A kit goes for $250, $300 or more just for a kit, and then you're going to have to do some work. I was able to pick up this helmet for $120, give and take, from a Big Bad Toy Store. And, you know, as soon as it came into inventory, they shipped it to me right away. And I got to say that I was a little bit apprehensive. I'm like, you know, maybe they're not going to be able to do such a good job with it, because I do own a Shore Trooper helmet, and the Shore Trooper helmet has a lot of details to it. And they just got all the details in. And I'll show you what I'm talking about when we do some of the comparison stuff. But the details are there. The color is nice. And it's just overall a very well-made, good-looking helmet. Okay, let's see what we got here. The details. All right. Again, I'm comparing it to other helmets and other images of the Shore Trooper, and Hasbro seems to have all the details down. I mean, everything from the vents in the back. Okay, you have the visor feature in the front. All right, the paint color. I mean, all the details, all the lines, the lens, the way that the eyes are cut out and everything. You have the snout here with the hobby mic tip, and it's just very, very well made. You have these recesses here. It's just a very nice helmet with all the details. All right. Another thing I was worried about was going to be the size. I know that with some of the helmets, they were undersized. Some of the helmets were oversized. This one seems to be spot on with the size. I was a little worried about the size as well, but the size is perfect. It's a very good size. If you were going to wear this with a Shore Trooper kit that you were going to assemble and put it on, it's going to be very in proportion with the armored suits that are out there. Okay. And the materials, well, it's just molded plastic all the way around. You have plastic all the way around, hard, and you know, it's just plastic injected helmet. All right, that's it. On the inside, let me turn this off. On the inside, you have, again, nice details on the inside. Unlike some fan-made helmets, you know, whether you want to put interiors on them or not, you can if you build your own helmet. But you know, this has a nice interior. All of the Black Series helmets have very nice interiors, so they don't spare a lot of expense on anything. The inside also has a, you know, your typical hard hat liner that is adjustable, and you know, a good amount of room in here for some of the larger heads as well. All right. The color that is used for the Shore Trooper helmet is Montana Gold Sahara Beige, which is a darker tan, darker almond colored helmet, or just color. And I think that they did a very good job with that color on this. I think that it's dark enough to look like Sahara Beige, and it's got a nice I think it's pretty spot on. Okay. Other details are the weathering. The weathering on it, you guys can see some weathering there. You see some weathering all the way around. I think the weathering could have been done a little better, but it does have some weathering. And if you're not that picky, I think the weathering looks fine. Okay. I mean, it's okay. It's just that when it comes to my personal helmets, I'm a little picky with the weathering, so I would like my weathering to look more organic. This looks a little bit just like, you know, thrown on, splashed on type thing, like they didn't spend a lot of time, you know, with the weathering portion of it. I like my weathering to look a little more natural. Okay. Let's see what else we got here. All right, the fit. Again, if you've seen some of my videos, I talk about fit, I talk about my head size. I have a 22-inch head in circumference, so if you were to get a measuring tape and wrap it around my forehead all the way around, I would measure 22 inches. I believe that I'm on the smaller side of head sizes. I think that the typical head size is about 23 and a half inches. 24 is kind of getting to the bigger size, and then you got your 25-inch melons, and those are people with very big heads. Anything bigger than 25, you have a pretty big hat size. Okay. Let's see what else. Once you put it on, it's again, your head would sit in the helmet liner, which I have adjusted to mine. There it is. Looks pretty good. Very comfortable, very comfortable. I'm sure you can't hear me too well speaking through the helmet, but I was saying it's very good, very nice size, very comfortable to wear. Once your head sits inside the helmet liner, it holds the helmet on very well, and you don't have any issues with it wobbling around or anything like that. The headliners work fairly well. A lot of us use them inside of our fan-made helmets as well, because it fits nice, and it prevents the helmet from moving around too much. Okay, the vision out of here is perfect. I would say there's like zero distortion or little to no distortion whatsoever. You can see very, very well out of the helmet. The lens is very big, and you have great visibility out of the helmet. Let's see, I'm going to see a little feel for this, see what I feel on this. Yeah, I would say it's about half an inch on either side. Okay, about half an inch. So I have a 22-inch head. 23, you'll be okay. All right, 23 and a half, you should be okay. I think at 24, you're kind of like probably working to get this thing on. There's plenty of room in the front of the mask, so if you have a larger nose, or if your face protrudes forward somewhat, there's plenty of space in there. You shouldn't have any issues getting this thing on. So I would say 23 and a half, you're good. 24, you might be pushing it a little bit. What I have seen is that most of these helmets that are made by Hasbro, or whether it's a mask or a helmet, whatever, they tend to be very good, or they cater towards that 23-inch head size. So some of these, if it wasn't for the hard hat liner, it would be big on me, and I would have to use some kind of a insert inside, or some kind of foam or something to, you know, so it fits comfortable on my head. But they seem to cater to that 23-inch head size. Okay, let's talk about some measurements here. The bottom, I'm only talking about right now the entrance into the helmet. So the entrance into the helmet alone. All right. From side to side, as far as the width, we're looking at 8.5 inches. Okay. From side to side, as far as width, the length of the opening from front to back is, well, it's about 10 inches. However, the space for your head would run about 8 3/4 of an inch. So you guys can see that it's about 10 inches there, but it's going to narrow down a little bit as it gets to your dome, the top of your head. So that's going to be about 8 3/4 of an inch there. All right. So again, 8.5 inches wide by 8 3/4. so you have an idea. The helmet itself, the full helmet, let's go with the depth of it, 12.5 inches. Okay, so 12.5 inches this way. That's the depth. Look at the width of the helmet. The width of the helmet. Look at about 9 inches. 9 inches as far as the width of the helmet. Okay, so 9 inches there by about, what did I say, 12. All right. So it's a full-size helmet. It's very nice as far as the size. They did a good job with it. Okay. All right. Let's talk really quick about the elephant in the room, and that's the electronics that are in these helmets. Again, like I said before, I buy these helmets for their aesthetics and the way they look, and I use them as display pieces, or you know, I might throw together a cheaper costume and want to use this helmet and stuff like that. But the electronics is an issue for me, and I've never bought these helmets for the electronic, you know, features. This does have a voice changer. I'm going to show you guys what that voice changer sounds like. Here we go. There's a button right here on the side. You press that, and the voice changer feature activates. It stays on, and then you press it again, and the voice feature for the voice changer feature just turns off. Okay. The battery compartment is back here. This whole panel is removable, and once you take that off, you have access to the battery pack that's in there, and I believe it uses 2 AAA batteries. And while we're on the topic of the details, the only detail that I noticed on this helmet that was different is that right there, okay? And that is the recess for the access into the battery compartment. So you need to use that, pry that up from there, from that recess there. This whole portion comes off the top, and then you have access to the battery compartment. That one little recess right there is the only detail that I found that was added to this helmet, just for the electronic features. Again, if it didn't have the electronic features, it wouldn't have that recess, and all the other details will be, you know, pretty spot on with the actual helmets. So let's see what this voice changer thing sounds like. All right, voice changer feature is on. And this is a voice changer feature for the Shore Trooper helmet by Hasbro, the Black Series line. So I'm not really sure how this sounds on camera, but to me, it just doesn't sound good at all. TK421, why aren't you at your post? TK421, why aren't you at your post? Well, that's it for that. So that's it. That's the voice changer feature on this helmet. Again, I'm not sure how it's coming out on video, but don't expect too much of that. Okay, there are other options like an Acre mic or some kind of microphone system that you want to use, if you want to use in one of these helmets or any cosplay helmet, that is probably a little better than what comes on these helmets. So again, do not buy this helmet for the voice changer feature. It is not going to be something that is very impressive. Okay. All right. Let's get into the comparison. So, Shore Trooper helmet. First one up. For the side-by-side, let's do the Mando. So, Black Series, Hasbro, Mandalorian helmet. You can see the size difference there. Again, a little bigger, right? And the Mando helmet fits very well. Turning them this way. This was obviously taller. Okay. And the back. Here we go. Taller, wider, as you would expect a Shore Trooper helmet to be. Okay. Mando helmets tend to run a little smaller. They tend to fit a little better as far as their profile, a little sleeker, a little closer to the face. All right, next up, let's try this. Here we have the Black Series Biker Scout helmet. So I think that Shore Troopers are of the Biker Scout lineage somehow. Okay, obviously you can tell that they have very major similarities. All right, their lenses are the same. You have the actual, snout there. That's the same. They look very similar. All right, so there's your Biker Scout helmet and your Shore Trooper helmet, head to head. And again, you have your Biker Scout Trooper that has vents in the back. You have these vent area, and they put the vent area in the Shore Trooper helmet. Okay. And the Biker Scout helmet is another helmet that Hasbro did an amazing job with. They did a really good job with it. Again, not a helmet that's easy to produce or mass produce. And they did a very nice job with it. The Biker Scout, along with the Snow Troopers, are some of my favorite characters. So let's put this down here. And last but not least, I have my Shore Trooper helmet. Okay, there we go. So this is going to be a much truer comparison. All right, as opposed to the other helmets in the Black Series line. All right, so this helmet here is a fiberglass cast. It is made by Jim Tripon, and he's on Facebook. He makes full kits of different Star Wars characters. He makes their armor, helmets. He also makes other characters that are outside of the sci-fi line. I believe that I bought my Game of Thrones, armor and guard from him. So the Lannister guard, and he makes very good quality helmets. And he does a lot of research and does a lot of planning and gets the details as close as possible to the original props. So here we go as far as size. Now you can see that a side by side, they are very spot on. Okay, they are very, very close to size, very similar. All right, head to head. And while I'm doing this, I want you to look at the details. All right, just look at the details. The visor on this one tends to be a little bit larger than this one. This one has a little bit of a sleeker armor. Okay, now which one is absolutely correct is not easy to prove, but that's just the way these helmets are made. There's a little bit of a distinction. The actual snout area here on this helmet, although they tend to be about the same as far as their height, this one tends to be a little wider, okay, than this one is. And again, it's up to debate as to which one's correct, which one's not correct. I mean, unless you're actually using a 3D scan and you're actually out there comparing these helmets, or these helmets nowadays, a lot of them are CGI when they use it for the movies, so it's kind of hard to even have an exact measurement. But I'm just showing how these two helmets differ, okay? The actual visor on this one, as far as the actual, this might be a blast shield or something up here, is wider, and it tends to be a little taller as well. This one is a little bit less wide and a little shorter as far as the height. Okay, but the rest of the details are there. All the lines are there. The lines around the actual lenses are there. The recesses on the side are there. The recesses on the side are here. If we turn the helmet sideways, you can see that the actual ears look almost identical. All right, you have the same amount of details here that you do here. You have the same amount of vents. I believe it's 6 vents on the back. All right, you have the same painted areas here, the same recesses. All right, very, very similar details. I mean, I'm telling you, I've been looking at this helmet. This area down here, as far as these features underneath the eyes, all right, you have this. These tend to be sharper, a little sharper. All right, and then these here tend to be a little smoother or softer. So they're less sharp. We call that softer features. All right. Look at the back. Again, very similar. And if we go ahead and flip these over this way, very similar in size. You can hardly tell the size difference. Now, the Jim Tripon helmet, this one here, tends to have a wider opening at the bottom. And again, you can see that, I paint the inside of my helmets because I did all the paint work on this. I did all the detail work on it. But I just put a seat cushion foam in there, and that's how I keep my helmets on my head and keep them comfortable. Okay, so if you want to look at a closer look at this, you can see that my weathering is a little different. I do have actual sand that I sprayed on there and glued to the helmet. It's kind of hard to see all those features, but if you look at the helmet in person, there's a lot of nice organic details. All right. Now I will say, as far as colors, all right, it took some time for the costuming community to figure out exactly what color they used on the Rogue One helmets. So I actually painted mine in what I assumed would be a nice almond or beige color, and then I would darken it with some weathering. But my helmet is absolutely not the correct color. If we're going to call it, hey, what's correct and what's incorrect, my helmet is not Montana Gold Sahara Beige. That's why I'm saying that this is a much better representation of that screen used color, and you can clearly see that this helmet is, which is a Hasbro helmet, is darker in color, and it is a closer reference to the movie than my helmet is. Okay, however, my helmet and all of my armor is already painted like this. I'm not going to repaint it. Okay, I think it looks fine for me just as is. All right, well, that's just about it. Again, bring up the Mando helmet. I am very impressed with this helmet. Okay, I really, really am. It is a helmet, like I said, that's very difficult to get correct. The details are very, very nice, and I would probably get rid of some of this weathering and do some better weathering on it with some black washes and maybe some airbrush work and stuff like that to make it look a little bit more natural. Maybe throw some sand on it. But overall, the helmet looks great. Okay, for a price point of $120, you just can't go wrong. Okay, very, very nice helmet, very nice features. I'm very, very happy with it, and Hasbro is doing an excellent job with these helmets. Okay, so that's it. If you have any questions or you have any comments or anything like that, or you want to add anything, maybe I missed something, go ahead and leave it in the comments, please. And I appreciate all of you guys watching. All right, I'll see you guys in the next one. Continue cosplaying and take care.